Robert McCloskey's Make Way for Ducklings as a document of 1941, this time on the Everything is a Primary Source podcast. As a fellow educator, I know that taking our social studies classes to historical sites and museums can be a rewarding experience for everyone involved. But between coordinating transportation, keeping track of permission slips, and paying out of pocket for unforeseen expenses, it can also be a large task for a busy teacher. The Everything is a Primary Source to Go artifact borrowing service replicates the most engaging part of a museum field trip. And that's interacting with real historic objects directly in your classroom, but without the process and cost of taking your class off campus. The Everything is a Primary Source archive contains ephemera and physical objects dating from the 1820s onward, with emphasis on the 20th century. Pre-made and curated kits pull from the collection and are designed to complement your curriculum, just as the exhibits at your favorite cultural center do. Visit everything-history.com to learn more about EPS to Go and how it can help you bring the museum to your classroom. Welcome to the Everything is a Primary Source podcast, the show where we construct history through popular culture. I'm your host, Eric Salmonson. I'm a social studies teacher, historian, and pop culture enthusiast. Each episode, I sit down with everyday people to discuss the media, objects, places, and events that shape us and reveal what they say about the past, as well as who we are now. The Everything is a Primary Source podcast is, therefore, your history, my history, our history through popular culture. I'm so glad to be here with Ashlee at the Makers Fest in New Hampshire. Have you been to the Makers Fest before? Have you presented before?
I haven't. No, this is my first time being here. I came with my children just to the museum when they were younger, but as a maker, this is my first year.
And what do you make?
I am a children's book author. I have over 15 children's books, different types. I have I Spies, which are educational for little ones to learn how to count, and iTrack, and then a lot of stories that are interactive and help the kids engage with the story.
And you said that you had probably a different way of getting into being an author than most would think. A lot of times people imagine children's book authors, especially maybe like a children's librarian or somebody who works in a bookstore and just thinks, I like these books, but do you mind telling us a little bit how you got into doing it?
Sure. So I would say I'm like middle of the ground. I'm a little bit like that because I went to school for English, and then I also did elementary education. So I'm a teacher. So I've been around children's books my whole life, which I love. But what got me into it was my daughter's egg allergy. So she has a condition called FPIES, which is food protein induced enterocolitis syndrome. It's very rare, and it's something where the children who have it can be allergic to any protein in any food. So the way that they are diagnosed is they actually have to eat the offending food, and then they react usually 2 hours later. And it almost always ends up in a hospital visit, usually overnight. So it's a pretty severe reaction. It's not anaphylactic. It's all through their GI system. So not a lot of people knew about it, especially when she was diagnosed 12 years ago, and a lot don't now, but it is becoming something that more people are hearing about because food allergy is so prevalent in our world. So when I went to look for something to help her not feel as alone in her condition when she was younger, I couldn't find any read alouds, and I kind of want to connect with her with that because of my teaching background and because I love children's books so much. So I decided that would be my first children's book that I wrote.
And when it comes to your audience, I mean, kids, picture book age kids, they don't have a lot of options when it comes to media that they get to either choose themselves or have presented to them. Like, we try to cut down on screen time as much as possible. So it would be, I guess, when you were considering ways that you could make this more known and people aware of it, did an app cross your mind or an online game, or did you immediately go book? Because kids aren't going to the movie theater on their own. They're not, or maybe we should try not to have them just flipping channels on their own at a young age.
Yeah, so I did go right to the book. I didn't think about technological things to present this information. I knew that was the way that I wanted to talk to my daughter about it, other than just having those conversations. I think I also included in the book a lot of personal information about her. There's pictures, there's her favorite recipes that are egg-free. So I wanted to have that connection where kids could listen to their grown-up read it to them, but then on the outside, as they get older, they can flip through it themselves and read about it on their own time. So I thought a book would be the most appropriate medium.
Mm-hmm. So the book that we're going to talk about, Robert McCloskey's Make Way for Ducklings, is very location-based.
Yep.
Your stories, do you have, is geography play a factor into it at all?
Yeah, I actually have a series called See You in the Morning, and I have them about 3 New England states, so Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. Those are the states where I usually do my in-person events, so I wanted something to present to those people who live in those states. Also, I'm from Maine, and I go to New Hampshire all the time. I'm right on the border, so really Maine and New Hampshire feel like both home states to me. So those books are bedtime stories that are rhyming inside, and they talk a lot about different places and landmarks that both children and adults would realize and recognize.
Excellent. So before we jump into dissecting a book, where can people best find out about your books?
I have multiple ways. I have a website called authorash.com. I also can be found on Amazon, and I'm doing 21 different events this year throughout Maine, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts.
All right. Sounds like you're very busy. And are you still teaching, or is this?
Yeah. So I teach part-time. So I do long-term subbing throughout. I used to be a kindergarten teacher. I decided to go part-time to pursue this dream. So right now I'm teaching first grade through the end of the year.
Excellent. Now, have you ever read Make Way for Ducklings to a class?
I have, and to my own children at home. We have a big, heirloom hardcover edition of it.
So it's one of my favorites. I remember growing up listening to people read it to me and then flipping through the pages. And I always love the illustrations in all those books. Robert McCloskey did a great job of making it very classic looking, but modern at the same time. So a lot of his books, if I'm not mistaken, are 1940s, early 50s. And we cheated a little bit. I looked him up online just to make sure. He's not originally from Maine or New England at all. He's from Ohio, but I guess he moved to New York City like a lot of authors, and then moved to upstate New York, but spent a lot of his summertime in New England and Maine. The question that I pulled is, where was it made and what locations are associated with it? Why do you think that he chose Boston for the place of the story about a pair of ducks looking for a place to have their eggs, and then trying to navigate through a city? Why not New York? Why not anywhere else? Why do you think Boston was selected? Well,
I think like you just said, I think he was really connected to the New England area, and Boston has such rich history that I think that was a classic choice for a children's book. Also, there's so many beautiful old buildings and parks there, which the book was based on the park with the ducklings. So I think that just gave way to inspiration maybe for his illustrations. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why he chose Boston instead of somewhere like New York.
And Boston is routinely compared with New York. I mean, oftentimes their sports teams are rivals with each other, so there's kind of a good-hearted hatred, if there's such a thing, between the places, and people are always comparing and contrasting them. New York City, Manhattan has those perfectly angular, crisscross roads and avenues and streets and everything.
Not Boston.
Boston, opposite of it.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned the rich history to it. I wonder if there's a component of, because we've become so familiar, especially right now in 2025, we're in that 250th anniversary era this month. In fact, I think this week is the 250th anniversary of the Battle of Bunker Hill. we have this perception of Boston being frozen in time in the colonial era, that everybody is tricorn caps, because it's true. I mean, have you ever gone on one of those Freedom Trail tours?
I have. Yeah, I have. And I'm fascinated with history in general. So Boston is really cool to walk around in, see all those old buildings and the different places that are really important to especially our American history and even in New England specifically too. So I love the whole feel and vibe of Boston.
And as New Englanders, we know that, I mean, we have other cities in New England. There's Portland, there's Manchester, Hartford, every state, even Burlington is a pretty decent size in Vermont. But Boston is our city, right? Boston is the cultural hearth. It's like, if you want to see a concert on tour, you're probably going to catch it in Boston before any of the other places. Same thing, like we said, for professional sports. The Red Sox dominate. The Patriots, they don't play in downtown Boston, but they're still Boston connected. It's like it's our city. And like you said, McCloskey probably wanted to celebrate that, but also maybe because, let's give a synopsis of the story of Make Way for Ducklings and see if we can decide if there's a reason why Boston, because it could happen in Central Park too, right? Yeah,
it could. So with Make Way for Ducklings, you have a mother duck and her ducklings who are looking for a spot for her to raise her ducklings and to hatch her ducklings and be able to keep them safe. And so she's looking all around and she's not having any luck, and then she ends up at this park in the middle of Boston, and I'm not sure I 100% remember what happens at the very end. I haven't read it in quite a few years, but I do know that the little ducklings following her at the end are pretty prominent.
Yeah, and like the police officer stops the traffic for them to cross the way, and they even have a statue, I think, at Boston Commons.
They do, a really beautiful one.
And again, like the New York Boston comparison, New York has Central Park, that's its most prominent park. Boston has the gardens and the commons, right? And the public gardens. And I'm wondering if one of the reasons, I know there's an interaction at some point with the swan boats that they have there, which are pretty recognizable for Boston specific. They don't have those in New York, so I wonder if that factored into it too.
That could have, yeah.
Maybe he saw those and like, hey, that'd be kind of funny. And people are, it's famous for, people feed the ducks there.
Right.
But it's, one of the lessons of the story is like, the country meeting the city.
The urban,
Urban versus rural, nature, in the middle of a metropolitan area. But I'm curious if it functioned also as a way to let everybody know that Boston is just as modern as everybody else. Like, there's cars that have to come to a screeching halt, not horse-drawn wagons.
Right. It's not stuck in that historical era that we all think about it. I think you're right. I also think that Robert I'm going to have to say it wrong. McCloskey loved playing around with his illustrations based on the ruralness of New England too. And I think this one was unique because, like you mentioned, he kind of combined the two, where he took Boston, that is known to be a very historical area, but is also, especially in the 1940s, 1950s, was coming into its own as a city that was prevalent for the area. And I think he kind of took some of that rural beauty of his illustrations and kind of meshed it into that urban feel, which was really cool about this book.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, and it's like the continuous story, also of like human-animal interactions.
Yeah, that continues. Sal,
right?
Yeah, with the
bears and everything, and it's like, how do we kind of navigate that?
And one morning in Maine, you have the ocean and boats, and so you have that type of nature versus humans as well. So he had, that's a theme, I think, throughout a lot of his children's books.
It's not specific to New England, but I think it's most prevalent here, especially in northern New England, Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont, where you can drive and drive and drive through the forest, through wilderness, along the coastline, and not really see a lot of human presence for a great long while, but then there it is. And it almost has like a transcendentalist nature to it, of like, nature's the boss, not us.
And that's one of the reasons I think us New Englanders live here.
Yeah, we like
it that way.
Sprawling city or even suburbs. It's, even the setting we're in right now, this children's museum was an armory when it was first built in the 30s. But it sprawls out to a beautiful park. Right. And Dover is a unique city in that you can still be in Dover and there's farms here.
Yeah.
It's urban meets rural, in a matter of seconds here, and that's not.
So he really captured that, I think, in his books,
and
especially in this one.
And it's an important time period for that to happen.
Right. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I gotta get back to your station.
Yes.
I'll be sure to stop on over there. And once again, people can find you. What's the best website?
Yeah. So authораsh.com, or on Amazon, you can just look up my name, Ashlee Ridlon, and I'll have all my books on there.
I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Popular culture, by definition, connects and unites us, and proves that people of different backgrounds, in fact, have a lot in common with one another. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, at least in part, for that reason. If it connects with you and you'd like to add to it, or any of the podcast episodes, just visit everything-history.com and search for the Everything is a Primary Source project, which can be found in the classroom section of the website. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Be sure to rate and share this podcast wherever you are listening to it now, and follow Everything as a Primary Source on social media, including YouTube and especially Instagram. Thank you for listening to the EPS podcast, where everything is a primary source.